We have more clips of MAGA voters, this time in Milwaukee, showing you how ridiculous you have to be to actually buy into this cult, getting stumped by simple questions and giving massively horrendous answers as well. So let's pull a few clips and look at the mind state of MAGA, but actually let's start with Don Jr. himself.
Who do you think won the 2020 election?
I think Donald Trump did.
But why? Because there's kind of a lack of, evidence, right?
You know, it's the whole not being able to complete a sentence by the existing president, someone who can sit there and talk about losing his Corvette.
What about the 7 million votes? What about the 7 million votes?
Ending our American energy policy. It's about every failure imaginable from the Biden.
But what about all the lost court cases, though? Like all of them.
These are the people who are trying to sell you the lies about Trump winning in 2020, and they themselves cannot even give coherent answers to the questions. Biden's coherency has nothing to do with the fact that he got 7 million more votes. Why can't you answer the question, Don Jr.? Which, by the way, from their own logic, more viewers would have thought, or more voters would have thought that Biden was more coherent because MAGA likes to pretend now that this performance in the debates is what shows that Trump is more coherent. Well, the majority of voters thought that Biden won the 2020 debate. So that point's moot. But then he also goes on rambling nonsense about Biden. One of the things he says about ending our energy independence, another complete lie. I know, surprising, right? We're more energy independent now under Biden than we have ever been. And I just want anyone who's actually bought into the cult of election lies and that kind of groupthink mentality to see how unable even the man who helped spread these lies are at answering a simple question about them.
We need to abolish abortion, no exceptions.
So this says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And that's from the Bible?
Yeah, from Jeremiah 1. Right. So God knows these babies in the womb. He has a purpose and a destiny for each child. They shouldn't be killed.
Didn't he kill all the firstborn sons in Egypt?
I mean, the religious types are always the easiest to just completely back into a logic corner because the Bible actually just completely contradicts everything they pretend it stands for, which is why they have to ignore all of it and hyper-focus on the parts that boil down to controlling women and not giving the same rights to people across the board, which is why it's sad to see a woman brainwashed in this way. Plus, again, people will break any rule in the Bible that they don't see the need to adhere to or overlook it for others, like adultery, and then still go and vote for Donald Trump, thou shalt not steal, and then still go vote for Donald Trump. But then we'll be like, you know what? God once said, you know, your kid's in the womb, so women don't deserve rights. It's easy to transfer someone from the cult of religion to the cult of MAGA because they're already bought into that cult mind state.
Who do you hope is the vice president?
I personally love Carrie Lake.
Now, I have to ask, Mike Pence was Donald Trump's vice president, and Donald Trump almost got him, killed. Would you be worried about Carrie Lake?
Donald Trump did not.
Well, the people were chanting, hang Mike Pence.
Give me a break. Grow up.
Well, but then they actually went inside, to where he was and everything.
So what?
Yeah, grow up and get over the fact that an angry mob stormed the Capitol at Trump's direction with guns, weapons, and a noose, by the way, while chanting hang Mike Pence, and then broke into the building he was in, went looking for him, and all because he wanted unconstitutionally keep Trump in power. I mean, how childish do you have to be upset by that? Oh, and election integrity really matters, by the way. That's why we're voting for the guy who did fake electors and pressured state officials to find him votes that weren't there. Now, I want to end this with one more MAGA getting embarrassed, but this time by yours truly, showing an interaction that I had as I occasionally engage in the comments, and it always ends with MAGA getting humiliated in the same light. I asked about corporations donating to politicians, and this guy said, oh, I know you have to be a super Dem. So I corrected him by saying, no, I'm not. I'm a socialist. I'm mostly voting with Dems against Donald Trump. And he made the normal Trump comment of, well, all Democrats are communists of some kind. So I politely asked him, name 3 communist policies and the people they were put forward by. Now remember, communism is community ownership of the means of production, to which he, doesn't name anyone because you can't, but he does name healthcare for all and government-funded education. which is hilarious if you actually know what socialism and communism are, because this is socializing programs, funding them through taxes, but socializing has nothing to do with socialism. It's a common misconception by people who have the Dunning-Kruger effect going on. They don't know a lot about it, but they feel the most confident to talk about things, right? It's in no way socialism, which again is social control of the means of production, and it's definitely not communism, community ownership of the means of production, which is why these things exist in capitalist countries. We're one of the few countries who don't do this, actually, even though other capitalists like Canada, for instance, does this, right? But to show the logical inconsistency of this, I asked him, so then roads, military, police, firemen, mailmen, they're all socialist concepts, right? Because they're funded the exact same way that universal healthcare and universal education would be, funded through taxes and provided by the government. And if that makes those socialism, then these have to be socialism as well, right? Well, he tries to differentiate them by saying, well, they're social programs. You're almost there, buddy. But the public believes that they're a right. So they're not socialism. One, that has nothing to do with socialism, right? Oh, well, the public agrees with them, so it's not socialism. But anyway about it, more of the public supports government providing healthcare than supports our current military budget. So by his own logic, healthcare then wouldn't be socialism, right? But instead of even bringing up that, I just say, well, Republicans support the military, again, funded the exact same way and less popular than healthcare. So does that make Republicans socialists? Would you call all Republicans socialists? Or are you going to just admit that you're repeating what Trump says and has no idea what you're talking about? I asked him the same about roads as well. And he said, nope, the military protects the nation. Skipped over roads because, there's not a good explanation he can give about that one. Well, so does healthcare. So do the police. So do firemen, right? And they're all funded the same way. Again, so I ended it by saying, oh, okay, so socialism is just tax-based funded things that specifically you don't like. You are the guy who decides what socialism and not. And if it's something you like, not socialism. If it's something you don't like, complete socialism. It's really this easy to show the ignorance of MAGA and poke holes in their own logic by just asking them simple questions.